What is going on, everybody? BobbyFi with my man Eric Sheets-Haber. Hope you guys all had a good weekend. Football was a lot of fun. I was at the Chargers Browns game yesterday, which I guess if you're going to pick one game to be at, that was probably the game to be at. It was a blast, and SoFi was amazing, and had a profitable NFL day, so I can't complain. Sheets, how'd you do? And what are your thoughts on tonight's Showdown slate?
I remain the luckiest survivor pool player on the face of the earth. This miracle this week, I had like 70% of my equity in the Vikings.
Oh wow!
Yeah, they were like literally 99.5% chance to win, and they were just running out. They were going to get a game-winning field goal, whatever it was, and then they were just trying to just to run out the clock. It was like they had a 2-minute warning. The ball was on their own 30, and Detroit had no more timeouts. They were just going to run it down. They were up 7. They were going to run it down to to 20, to whatever, a minute 10 and punt the ball. But instead, Madison tried to fight for like extra yards and got a fumble taken away. So Detroit had the ball on Minnesota 30. They scored with 30 seconds to go, went for 2 and made it, giving the Vikings the ball down 2 with 30 seconds to go. No problem. 2 big flash plays, field goal at the buzzer. What a
Why did they go for 2?
Because just to piss me off.
I don't even understand it. That's crazy. Yeah, but that's amazing.
Yep. So lucky survivor pool stuff again. So you ready to do this? By the way, is Lamar Jackson in every showdown slate?
I feel like it. It certainly feels that way.
Oh, and by the way, dude, I'm telling you, I don't know why or how this happens, but we talked about this. That it's crazy the way sports betting works. Like we were talking about the Kansas City game. It was just so freaking obvious. The Kansas City -2.5 was just such a lock that it just had no chance.
I was wrong.
Amazing. It's amazing the way it happens.
I still felt good about that bet even at halftime. Like they're going to come back, but I guess that they really can't cover anybody. They got a real problem defensively, and I think I should have probably been a little bit more alarmed as Vegas was.
They can't guard Dawson Knox.
Yeah. All right, Ben, why don't you pull up your screen and we'll talk through some of these possible plays here today.
Let me think who could be a good play today. Let me just see. Who could be a good play on a showdown slate with the Baltimore Ravens? I'm not sure who that would be. Maybe Lamar Jackson's pretty good at football.
Seriously, I don't know how we are not, I'm looking through all the potential plays. I don't know if there's a path to not playing. We talk about sometimes there's certain guys you just can't not play on showdowns. I just don't know how, I honestly am having a hard time figuring out how not to captain him. You could try a few other things, but I think he's going to be my captain most likely in my main lineups. And I really don't think I need to change that. I think I need to try and find a couple other places to get creative. Maybe you could make an argument as a captain for some of these, Jonathan Taylor on the other side, maybe Naheem Hines. Maybe you could make an argument for Lat Murray, maybe Pittman and Brown. I just am not going to do it, I don't think. Is there anybody else who's standing out to you? Well,
again, I don't really look at it just like who to use as captain, but it's probably likely that he's going to get in most of the captain builds. I mean, he just projects to score twice as many points as everybody else. It's just the way it's going to probably be. The only way that I was going to say the only way that doesn't get there is, so who's going to get touchdowns, right? So Lat Murray can get touchdowns, or maybe you get Lamar to throw like 3 of them to Mark Andrews specifically. You know what I mean? Then maybe Mark Andrews in the captain could work or something like that. And then there's other. See, the thing is that sometimes there's weird variations where you can put cheap guys in the captain because that there's some studs you want to get in there, but not this. But this slate is not like that. You don't have big studs on the other side or anything like that. So for me, he's probably going to show up in 100% of my lineups. The way I kind of look at these showdown slates now is that I start with I look and I say, okay, where's their funny business? Who's the funny business play? Last night, by the way, I had 90% Pringle.
Yeah, that's awesome. He's been great on our showdown slates for us.
Yeah, but I didn't have the total nuts, which was the Bills defense.
Right. Yeah, that would have been a tough one.
So Lamar's obviously in play. Probably you should probably play him. But if you had to identify I don't know, again, I'm not much of a correlation guy in showdowns. Again, I'm kind of stubborn with that nowadays. But let's just say you were going to put Lamar with a receiver. Obviously, Mark Andrews is going to be the most logical. But who else would you go for?
I like Watkins' price. I'm a little, we have two questionable tags. I think they're going to play both Bateman and Boykin, who were activated from the injured list. I could see using Miles Boykin as a weird play. I think the way that he spreads it out, he's got familiarity with Lamar in the past, and I think that there's an outside chance you could see a guy like that maybe catching it. He's not going to get you a bunch of fantasy points, but he could potentially score you a touchdown for 200. Something like that is what I would say. They did practice this week. I still don't know their whether or not they're going to play, and I think Bateman will look like the better projection play. But I'm sort of open to maybe using a Boykin, but naturally the top two are going to be, the obvious ones, which are Andrews. And I actually don't know how obvious Sammy Watkins will be to everybody. I just think the price is reasonable. And I'd play both those guys with Lamar in my captain lineups and maybe include a Boykin to thinking that maybe he gets that one touchdown catch. I do like Baltimore in this game. And I think that one other route of maybe guys who I'll have a lot of exposure to, or maybe even consider for potential captain if you wanted to do it. I don't think you're going to need to do this, but would be a guy like Naheem Hines, thinking that they'll play the game, from being down a bunch, and he could end up with 10 catches on a weird day or something like that. That's sort of the only thing that's sort of my main focus. How about you on this?
Hey, I missed that. So talk to me more about these receivers that are coming off of IR and whatever. Tell me more about this. So you told me there's a Rashad Bateman and Miles Boykin. Like Miles Boykin, I've heard of.
Yeah.
He's been injured, right?
Yeah, they've both been injured on the injured list. They were both activated on Wednesday, and they're practicing. I'm not even 100% sure they're going to dress for the game at this moment. We'll know that a little bit later. If they both do play, while Bateman might be a little bit like a guy they might, project a little bit better, I think you have in Boykin a guy who's got some familiarity with Lamar, and all you're looking for is maybe just, just that one touchdown catch. That one play or whatever, or just even a 40-yard catch, get 5 fantasy points from a guy who costs 200. And I think Boykin, I have a little bit ahead of Bateman if they were both going to be healthy. It also probably would take away a little bit from the other receivers. I understand playing in, Hollywood Brown. I think that's the natural guy people are going to want to, you want to sync up with Lamar. At least
he sucks. He sucks.
I think that Lamar has made him into viable. He's fast. He's got that going for him. I personally am probably not going to do that. I'll probably stick with the Andrews and Sammy Watkins.
Hey, Watkins half the price as Marquise Brown is a little bit disrespectful, I think. I don't know.
Yeah. Target share is pretty similar.
Yeah. So let me throw a couple of other guys because let me tell you something. Some of my better performances have been in these Baltimore games where I picked around at this nonsense, right? So if Bateman and or Boykins are active, these guys all can't be active. So basically, Duvernay almost becomes out of play at 4,800, right?
Well, the thing is that they still may not, even if they're activated, it's not like they need to play them. It's not like they're a pass-heavy team that's going to be just rotating in a million different receivers. You're just trying to catch a little bit of lightning in a ball, get left in one play. And Duvernay is always going to be involved, so he's going to be returning kicks at the very least. The price tag makes me sort of a little less interested. I think that you've got Sammy Watkins is just got a better floor and upside as a receiver. But yeah, Duvernay is not really it's just not a guy who I'm going for tonight. Although I have liked him on a lot of Showdown slates in the past, but that was a lot of those times he was 200, and it's a lot different when you're paying 4,800 for him.
And just on sheer principle, I will be having at least 10%, maybe more, of Josh Oliver. I played him in every one of these things. I think he's got a red zone target or a decent target every single time, and he's 200. So really? I don't know where it's gonna fly with even more receivers coming into the freaking mix, but give the 2 tight end set, with Andrews. Again, I think this could be a funny business slate, so I'm definitely gonna throw him in there as well. And one other kind of funny guy, you mentioned Latavius Murray, only because again I have to look at everybody who projects in my thing. I only have like 20 total guys in the player pool. Right? So what do you think of taking a shot at 400 with Devonta Freeman?
So I would rather play pretty much everybody else on their side. I would rather play.
At 600 though, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, but do you need that really? Like, is there a big difference between that and Le'Veon Bell at 1,800, or Patrick Ricard at 800?
I was gonna ask you about him. That's Patrick Ricard.
Yeah, I think Marlon Mack, if you want to spend down, is your best bet. I honestly don't
Yeah,
understand.
that's the other. I'm going to get to that team in a second. Yeah.
Yeah, it's harder. I mean, I understand that he's not, the main back is Jonathan Taylor, and then you're going to get, Hines on the third down and passing work and whatever. But he probably will get a couple touches. I would probably stay away from that. I like the backup running backs in general. I will probably have a little bit of Le'Veon Bell. I don't know, for old time's
I
sake.
didn't even know Le'Veon Bell still played. Which team is he on?
He's on the Ravens.
He's on the Ravens too.
Yeah, he had four carries last week and one target. In a game that was, competitive. So it wasn't like they were just, so I there's a chance he's had more touches. He had more touches last week than Devontae Freeman had one attempt last week.
Okay.
I would rather play. I mean, look, he is cheaper. I don't love either of it, but I think you might be more onto it with either a Josh Oliver or Miles Boykin if he's healthy, if he's good to go, if he's actually in the lineup. Those are the guys I would lean towards, and then I would go probably to Mac ahead of these other guys for Baltimore. But I don't really love that either, to be honest with you.
And obviously, you could always play Tucker.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think of the and then we'll get to Indianapolis in a second.
I actually think Tucker's too cheap. So I actually think that's a really good play. I actually think Tucker should be a guy who we definitely, strongly consider. Why am I looking? It's got his points wrong on the site I'm looking at right now. It's got him as only having scored 9 fantasy points all year, but he's made it's impossible because he's made 12 field goals.
I'm projecting him for 9 fantasy points today's game, if that helps.
Yeah, I think that's about right. And at that price, that's a really good play. And, mix him in. It's going to be pretty Baltimore heavy for me. And that means I'm probably going to end up playing Nyheim Hines on the other side or Paris Campbell. Of all the receivers, I mean, I think you've got a good receiving option for Indy in terms of, Michael Pittman. I like him a lot as a receiver, actually. But I think the price, I'd rather probably spend in the more middle-ish range and take another, prayer shot on Paris Campbell. He's getting work. He just hasn't had a big play. Hasn't had the kind of year I thought he would have this year. And then maybe you could consider an Ashton Dillon or something like that. He did have one, reasonable catch last week at 200. He's another one of those guys. But for me, it's probably going to be my receiving core. My receiving guys from Indy are probably going to be Pittman. I'm open to the Josh Oliver, shot. But I'm sorry, it's probably going to be Paris Campbell. And I think Pittman's the most viable, but the price is probably going to keep me off of him. And same with Pascal too.
I'll tell you this. I mean, Tucker's kind of a good safe play, I think. But I think the ceiling play is at the same price as probably the Ravens defense. No.
I like the Ravens.
It's got your man at quarterback on the other side.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. I do think that I do like that actually a little bit. I feel like Tucker is actually the safer of the plays because he's going to.
He definitely is. That's what I said.
But I kind of like that with you. Yeah, you're right. You said ceiling. Yeah, my bad.
Yeah.
I think that's a good idea. I like the Ravens. I think this is not going to be a beautiful game. I don't expect it to be fast paced. I don't think there's going to be a ton of action.
Sorry about this.
No worries. Sorry about that. I thought you said to pause. Go ahead, man. What were you saying?
No, I think that I mean, maybe I'm just
I think you're right.
Blinded by old takes on the Ravens defense, but I mean, as you've been impressing upon me for the past 2 years, Wentz really stinks.
Yep.
And you get a national game at night in the lights, and in a game script which is just perfectly set for freaking pick sixes. You know what I mean? And strip sacks and all that stuff. I mean, they get a leader just gonna prick their ears back and just go after him. So I'm definitely going to put them in my pool, and whatever I get of them, I'm definitely going to make sure I have some of that. Hey, you're starting with 10 points.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, okay, that's right. By the way, the defenses have been pretty good on the showdown slates this year for the most part. Yeah, I can get behind that. So I actually have my priority plays on here as Watkins, Andrews, Tucker, Ravens, obviously Lamar, and Nyheim Hines is my favorite play. I'm probably going to add Paris Campbell to that as another cheap option. Because that way I can play Lamar as my captain. The problem is to how to get so different with that. I don't think Paris Campbell is going to be overwhelmingly owned. I don't think the combination of Tucker, the Ravens defense, and Campbell will be that popular. So I'll probably do that, and I'll include Watkins in it. and Andrews possibly. So that, that would be basically my 5 guys. Basically, it's just going to come down to whether I want to play Campbell on one side or Hines, because I do think this game sets up for the Ravens to have a much bigger game than the.
I definitely think it's definitely a Naheem Hines type of game. I also think that that Jack Doyle is a strong play at 2,600 for the Colts as well.
I just feel like Mo Alley Cox gets so much more upside, or at least he did last. I mean, he had a huge game last week because they had the 2 touchdowns. But I hear you. Like I always liked Doyle, but it's just such a platoon situation right now. He's just not getting the work. He had the 1 week 2 against the Rams. That he got some work. Other than that, I don't know why he's sort of fallen out of favor there. And then, like you said, they occasionally bring in your guy. That's on the other side. Sorry. I do think Oliver on the other side, though, for Baltimore is interesting at that position as well.
You like Pascal at all for Indianapolis, or not so much?
I can't get to that at that price. I would rather, if I'm going to do that, I just play Pittman.
And you had alluded to this guy before when I was talking about Baltimore guys. I wanted to talk about him only because he rates as a very, strong play. He's freaking 600, whatever it is. So give me your talk again about the running backs for Indianapolis with respect to Marlon Mack, because he's a guy who's 600 who could score a touchdown. I mean, if they give it to him.
Yeah, it's like the thing is, Naheem Hines doesn't run all that much. They use him in the passing game mostly, and that's what he does. Mack is an actual replacement for Taylor. So we've seen running backs get hurt a million times and be limited at times and all that stuff. Mack had 10 carries last week.
Okay.
That's something. I have to go back and look at the Miami game script, what happened if Taylor went down for a while or something, because I would imagine that's the only thing that could have happened. I just didn't happen to watch that game, so I'll double check on that. But if it was sort of like in the natural flow of the game, they're just going to give him that many touches. I don't see that as being the most likely outcome, though. I don't see that as being what they're trying to do. But if anything happens to Taylor, or if he just gets banged up for a play or whatever, it's going to be Marlon Mack who takes over the running part of the role. And I think Naheem Hines will be there when on 3rd down, and then when they're trying to come back later in the game. That's my take. Naheem Hines could score 0 in the first half and have 15 fantasy points in the second half.
Right. What happened to the rookie for Baltimore, the running back? Is he out for a good period of time?
They're all out. They've missed it. All their running backs got hurt.
Oh,
yeah.
Not like COVID or anything, or
no, I don't think so. I mean, from what everybody else was hurt. He wasn't even supposed to be their guy. What's his name tore his thing before the season started. The name is escaping me at the moment for some reason.
Yeah. So I think the most important thing to look for and we'll get to that, later, as we get closer, is to just confirm the active of those wide receivers for Baltimore, because in Showdown, I do think you want to sprinkle those, Lamar is going to be escaping, and he'll just throw to whoever's around. You know what I mean? Yeah. So if you catch it, and that's the one thing about when he scrambles and gets whatever, guys just become open. And why can't it be one of those guys who happens to be in the game in that play? So it's I want to make sure. Obviously, I want to make sure they're playing though. So it's Boykin, Bateman, and there's another one, or just those two? Boykin.
Well, those are the ones that are off the IR, but we'll figure it out. It's funny because we mentioned so many times on the show. By the time people actually watch this, they might have already been announced out, and then we get people just ripping us apart for being idiots because it happens while the video's posting, and it always frustrates me because I'm like, I don't know if they're going to play. We'll just leave it at that one. I think it's just going to have to pick it up later.
Which all I know is that when we stop recording, they'll rule out Chris Middleton. That'll be my.
They're really like what?
They usually rule out Chris Middleton or Giannis when we.
Oh yeah, exactly. Just as we're done with recording it, absolutely.
Yeah. Kyle Lowry's also been one of the victims.
That's true. That last year, that whole team was killing us. Yeah. All right. Well, good luck to everyone out there. Hopefully, we will. I will try to be around. At least I'll post things in Discord at the very least later if we don't do live. And
I'm not going to be around tonight.
Yeah. So unless I can get Rody to do it with me or whatever, I probably will just be posting in the Discord about my thoughts, and I'm sure Sheets and Rody will be doing the same. And good luck to everyone tonight. Let's keep some good mojo going.